there, YouTubers. Welcome to Solve My Math Homework. This is the channel where you send in your math problems and I explain how to do them. So today we're going to solve 3 1/2 minus 1 1/3. There are actually two ways that we can go about solving this. I'll explain both and then I'll tell you which one we're going to pick and why. So the first way is to switch both of the mixed numbers. Remember, these are called mixed numbers. Take both of these mixed numbers and switch them into improper fractions and then subtract those improper fractions. And that involves switching from mixed to improper. Remember, when we do that, we would take the denominator 2 times 3. We would get 2 times 3 is 6. And then we would add the numerator. So 6 plus 1 is 7. And we would get 7/2. And then we would do that for both and then subtract them. But we're not going to do it because the other way is much easier. We could just subtract the whole numbers first and then subtract the fractions. And let's talk about why we're going to do that. Since I don't have to manipulate the whole number, since 3 minus 1 is 2, since 3 here, the whole number on the first one, is bigger than the second one, we're going to go ahead and subtract the whole numbers first and then subtract our fractions. But to do that, I want to set this up vertically because looking at it horizontally is not very easy to see what I'm talking about. So when you set it up vertically, make sure you take the first fraction, put it on top, then minus that second fraction and put that one on the bottom. And so we can see very easily here that 3 wholes is bigger than 1 whole. So we just subtract 3 minus 1 and get 2. Now we subtract the fractions, and that's where we're going to need like denominators. We have 1/2 minus 1/3. Remember, halves and thirds are not the same size. If you have half of a pie, you have more than somebody who has 1/3 of the pie. So we need these to be in the same size. The same size means the same denominator. So let's go ahead and create like denominators. If we have 1/2 minus 1/3, because that's what we're left with, we already took care of 3 minus 1, we need to make like denominators. We need a number that both 2 and 3 go into. The easiest way to find a number they both go into is to multiply them. 2 times 3 is 6. So if 2 times 3 is 6, I know 2 goes into 6, and I know 3 goes into 6. So we're going to make like denominators, and that like denominator is going to be 6 because both 2 and 3 go into it. All right, now this is the part people don't like. To make these like denominators, we're going to multiply 1/2 by 3 over 3, and we're going to multiply 1/3 by 2 over 2. So what we're doing is 3 over 3 is really just a weird way to write the number 1. If you have 3 parts out of a whole that has 3 parts, right? You have 3 parts out of a total of 3 parts, you have the whole thing. 3 over 3 is 1, and 2 over 2 is 1. We're just multiplying by a really funky looking 1. And the reason we're doing it is because when we multiply these numbers, when we multiply these fractions, we're going to get the same denominator. So look at what I mean. We're going to multiply 1/2 by 3 over 3. That's just multiplying 1/2 by 1. We're not changing the value of 1/2. 1/2 times 1 is still 1/2. It's just going to look different. It's going to be an equivalent fraction with a different denominator and a different numerator. And then we're going to take 1/3 and we're going to multiply it by 2 over 2. Again, we're multiplying by 1. 1/3 times 1 is still 1/3. It's just going to look different. And why are we doing this? Because we'll get 2 times 3 in the denominator for the top fraction and 3 times 2, which is the same as 2 times 3, for the denominator in the bottom fraction. All right, let's clean up this page and let's do some multiplication. Remember, when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. So we do 1 times 3 in the numerator and 2 times 3 in the denominator. So 1/2 times 3/3 is 3 over 6. Now, same thing down here. Multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So when we multiply those, we get 2/6. Okay, now we can subtract 3/6 minus 2/6 because we're talking about things that are the same size. We're talking about sixths. If I have 3/6 and you have 2/6, we can compare how much we have because we have the same size pieces. All right, so how do we subtract fractions? Well, 3/6 minus 2/6 is 3 minus 2 in the numerator over that common denominator of 6, which is 1/6. And that's the fraction part of our answer. Remember, that's not your answer. We already have a whole number. So we just add that over here to the 2, and we have 2 and 1/6. So now I know that 3 and 1/2 minus 1 and 1/3 is equal to 2 and 1/6. And that's how we solve these. That's how we subtract mixed numbers. They get a little harder than this, so if you see another one that comes in that you don't know how to do, send it to me. But until then, take it easy.